so much for joining us today. This is so great to see you all here. My name is Leah Sarich, and I'm the head of story for Thin Air Labs, and I will be moderating our conversation today. So we actually are going to start things off by throwing up a poll while I go through some of this housekeeping business. So feel free to fill it out or not. It's just a way for us to collect a little bit of information about who you are and help us connect with you. So lots to get to today. So yes, a couple of housekeeping notes. As mentioned already, we are indeed recording this event. So do keep that in mind. We will send out a recording to all participants following the event, and it will also be posted to our YouTube channel. And I have to say, if you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, check it out. It's a good time. There's all kinds of resources there for founders. There's lots of highlights about the portfolio companies that are in our portfolio. So it's really quite a bit of fun. So go check that YouTube channel out if you haven't already. Other things to note that we will have a Q&A at the end of this presentation. So if you've got a question that's coming to mind, feel free to throw it in the chat at any time, and we will do our best to get to as many of those at the end of this presentation as we can. So yes, anytime, throw those questions into the chat. So we're talking today about building an effective MVP. So you'll be hearing from our software development lead, Rosemary Sanchez, and our senior developer, Katie Underwood. Yeah, give it a wave there, Katie. Yay! She's wearing a cat shirt, by the way. It's quite wonderful. Rosemary will explain how building an MVP is part of the product traction service we offer to ignite venture growth. And Katie will talk about what it's like to actually build with us and how we build MVPs differently so that they're more effective for you and for the growth of your business. So first, though, just a little bit about Thin Air Labs. If you don't know who we are here to ignite venture growth by connecting with you, the founders, and our ecosystem partners in our community. So we're an ecosystem studio. Now, we came up with this term to describe the unique way that we build globally competitive companies. We invest in very early stage innovation through our venture capital arm. We help ventures succeed with our impact services like product traction, and we help nurture the innovation ecosystem through our involvement and influence with community builders and critical ecosystem partners. Now, our first presenter today is Rosemary, as we mentioned. So Rosemary, she's been around. She's got almost 20 years of experience in tech, from building websites and enterprise software to team leadership. Prior to Thin Air Labs, she was at Benevity, a Calgary fintech unicorn in the corporate giving space. And Rosemary brings experience as a facilitator and manager, agile product thinking, and execution to the team. Hey, Rosemary.
Hi, Leah.
Listen, thanks so much for doing this. So let's just tell everybody a little bit about who you are. So you're our software development lead. Can you talk a little bit about how software development is part of our product traction service?
Yeah, I think it might be helpful to first talk about what the product traction service team is. Mm-hmm. We're a part of Thin Air Labs, and I'm going to start off by saying a bit about who we are and the way we work. We are a cross-functional team, and we come from varied backgrounds. Here are some of the examples of the companies we've come through or worked with. So as you can see, we like to take the experiences, both the learnings and the failures that we've had, into our experience working with whoever we're working with at Thin Air Labs. Being a cross-functional team, we have developers, of which I'm the software development lead, and Katie is a senior developer as well, product marketers, product thinkers, and what we aim to do is really hit that sweet spot. So when we talk about the types of impact we want to do, we work to create an environment where we can understand the business outcomes as well as the customer outcomes, and really work towards maximizing the parts where they intersect. And this is really important for us because as a founder, and there may be founders in the audience, if you really want to maximize this area, because this is what will help your product take flight, get that traction. We do this as part of the impact services team by doing different types of services, such as capability sprints, where we help to help the people within and refine the processes. We help with marketing, which is very important, as you know, as a founder, because if you can't reach your customers and get them to know about your idea, then it's going to be really challenging to get them to be acquired and converted. And then what we're going to be talking about today will be the execution type of sprint. And when we talk about execution, if you come to any of our previous webinars, you may have learned that we do various types of things, again, with different ventures. Sometimes we can be your team in the absence of your team. We can be the people to help you get things off the ground. We can also help you by augmenting your existing team. Say you have an existing team that is really focused on achieving your core product goals. But at the same time, you're at a sweet spot where you need to do additional activities to get, other things going, adding new features, de-risking things. This is where we come in. We can help by de-risking things technically for you by building prototypes and doing some research in what's out there and how to achieve these things in a responsible way. And if you want to work with us in a way that we can build your MVP, where you have an idea and you might have some understanding of your customer and your market, but need that development capability and product capability and marketing capability, as well as doing customer acquisition, we can really build those first pieces of the MVP for you so that we can put these in front of people, get their feedback, help tell the story when you're getting that investment. Here's my idea. Here's a tangible form of this idea in a minimum viable product. And you can use that to develop a wait list, get some numbers in, just really drum up interest. So you can, then use that for your future strategy and your future thinking.
That's so exciting. Thanks for sort of talking about that, Rosemary. We had a request just to bring up that slide again that shows the experience that we have on our team. So why don't we do that? Because of course it's really fun and exciting. But I think it also speaks to, look at the names on this: Benevity, League, Wave, Shopify, Unbounce, Coho, Ada, Lupio. These are really big names, and it does speak to the experience that is on our team. And that really informs a lot of the decision making that we do, because we have the experience. We've been down this road before. We've done this kind of work before, and we're here to help you overcome those barriers, that are quite common, because we've been there and we've done that. Fair to say, Rosemary?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Experience is one of the best teachers in life. So when we have a team, and we're not just all developers, we're not just all product thinkers, we haven't come from the same walk of life. We really value the diversity of every member of our team, and you'll experience that when you work with us. We'll have Katie, in a little bit to talk about more how we work through things. But when we look at this roster of clients that experiences we've had, big and small, unicorn companies, I feel like these are some of the things that we love to bring into our engagements, working with you founders to help you be successful.
Yeah, it's so much more than just engaging with like a software development team. You're dealing with the product team, sales team, marketing team, and then it's all working together. So it's quite an extraordinary sort of experience.
Yeah,
absolutely. Do you want to talk a little bit, Rosemary, about an MVP itself and why we're talking about MVPs today?
Yeah, I think that'd be very important. We say MVP, and we talk about it so much as a team. We just rattle off letters, but really challenging what that means. And for people who are in the audience who have never heard about this, MVP stands for a minimum viable product. It can be really different from what people think is a prototype, because this is something that actually is functional and is a good representation of the first slice of work that we can put in front of people for that early feedback. And the tricky part is that viable. It needs to be something that is not just lovable and the thing that let me take a step back here. Let's go through all the letters. So minimum, it's not full featured. It's just enough to validate some hypothesis. Mm-hmm. This really speaks to our principles of working lean and getting just what's right out, just right out there to understand who's out there, who can we acquire and activate as our customers. When we talk about viable, this comes from our practice of not just jumping headfirst and hearing the vision and building things straight away. We do a lot of discovery to understand the business behind this. And coming back to the experience we've had, we have the understanding of how businesses work and how to take small companies into growth stage companies. And we bring that into the viability aspect of our MVP. And lastly, it's a product. It's more than a website that sells. It's the first step in the real product that will be solving both our customer and our business outcomes again. And this is where our product thinking cross-functional team really shines. We we work iteratively to take something from very small into something more full-featured over time and through various iterations. And we do this all working together.
And it's something we can do quite quickly too, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Some of our, our experiences building MVPs, and this I think really hits, alleviates some anxieties with some founders. Say you have a really grand vision of what you want to build, and you ask some people like how long it'll take, maybe to come back to you with years or months. Our execution sprint for building an MVP will be 1 or 2 sprints of 6 weeks. So this really attests to how we work lean, the importance of having the developers in at the very beginning, having the marketing aligned, or user experience aligned, and product aligned, so that when we need to hit that go button and really execute and build something lean, viable, and able to be part of your storytelling, we will be there and we'll get that done for you really quickly.
And we're ready to go. Perfect. Rosemary, thanks so much for this. You'll stick around so that we can answer some questions if they come up for you. So thanks for this, Rosemary. Let's transfer over to Katie now. So Katie Underwood is a senior software developer on the product traction service team. She has extensive experience using technology to help clients achieve their business goals across a variety of industries. Prior to joining Thin Air Labs, she worked at Clio, a Canadian legal tech company, and on the advanced malware protection team at Cisco, where she worked on privacy-focused security tools. There's Katie right there. So Katie, you're a senior developer on the team, on the product traction team. Can you just talk a little bit about sort of how we work? It's sort of a unique sort of way, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Thin Air, we like to think that we have some more effective strategies to help ventures build their business and achieve their MVP goals. So I kind of like to think of the difference between a traditional development consulting shop or a traditional even venture studio and Thin Air Labs being like the difference between a restaurant and a personal chef. So at the restaurant, it might be very high end, you might have a great experience, but at the end of the day, you're kind of ordering off of the menu, maybe with a few modifications here and there. But with your personal chef, you have someone who's working with you one-on-one to achieve exactly the outcomes you have in mind. Maybe you love gourmet cuisine, but you're also running a marathon next month. So you have specific nutritional goals. And that's the kind of tailored, kind of personal approach that we like to take at Thin Air when we're working with our ventures. So I know that Rosemary talked a little bit about how the upfront strategy is very important and fundamental in how we work. And if you're working with Thin Air, it's quite possible that you won't see a lot of code being written for the first even couple of weeks of our engagement, because we really want to take that time to dig into really the heart of the problem that the founder is passionate about solving, so that we can have that very clear picture of, like Rosemary said, the intersection between the customer needs and the business needs of the venture. And in that slice is where we're going to build the most effective MVP. But that doesn't mean that you won't see the dev team for the first few weeks. You'll see us a lot because, again, as Rosemary alluded to, cross-functional teams are a fundamental part of our approach as well. So that means that the development staff is involved from very early on, because if we're able to deeply understand those customer problems and the goals of the founder, we're able to craft our technological approach in the most effective way to achieve those outcomes. So we're working with the product team, with the design team, with the founders from day one. And in this way, we're able to really pick and choose technologies and approaches that are going to let us move very quickly, but also in a way that's really effective and extensible for the long term, so that even once the venture concludes their engagement with us, they have something that is extensible and maintainable, and something that they can build on without us once the engagement is over. That kind of path to independence is another really fundamental value for us. So don't get me wrong, we love it if we get the opportunity to work with ventures more than once, but we always want that to be because they found us to be so effective in helping them achieve their goals the first time that they would like to do another engagement. We never want to be in a situation where you're locked into some kind of like a maintenance situation, or we've built you something that only we understand. That path to independence and setting ventures up for independent success is core to everything that we do.
For sure. It sure is. Something else that I know that's really unique to us is sort of doing demos as we work. And we'll sometimes do a demo like right away after a day or two. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the demo process and that continual cycle of alignment with our founders is another extremely important part of our whole development philosophy. So we really believe in showing our work early and often, and just making sure that we're continually aligned on that sharp focus that we've aligned with the venture with early in the design and in the ideation phase. Because we know that, of course, founders need to get to market quickly, and we don't have much time or wiggle room if someone is not on the same page. So we're not shy about showing our work in progress. The cadence of demos definitely depends on the needs of the venture and their availability. We've had some ventures where we're demoing works in progress twice a week. We've had some ventures where we're demoing twice a day. And just really, really keeping that tight feedback loop to make sure that everything we're doing is driving towards that really targeted outcome.
So exciting, so exciting. So this really is kind of our way of doing things, but how do we sort of know that it is better than other ways, for example, of building MVPs?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the main thing is that we're always starting with the why rather than the what. So I think particularly as technology people, it's really easy to get caught up in what's the cool thing that we're going to build, or like, I want to use this technology, I want to build this thing. But by starting from the actual underlying need that's being solved, we can actually be more effective in not only choosing that particular thin slice of execution, but uncovering information that's going to help our ventures be even more successful in the long term. So we have this analogy that a number of you are probably familiar with, called like the skateboard analogy. And Charlotte, can I bug you to put that slide up for me, please? I think we got it somewhere. Thank you so much. So this little diagram, many of you are probably familiar with it, so I won't go into it in too great a detail, but it's basically showing kind of the right way to build an MVP and the wrong way to build an MVP. So in the top line here, in the least effective MVP case, we have a customer and we know that they want a car. So to iteratively develop this, we slice it up based on the pieces of the car. So first we give them a wheel, and then we give them a wheel and an axle, and then we give them a car body. And then finally, after a bunch of individual components, they get a car. So this isn't particularly effective because the customer is just unhappy until the very end. And we didn't really learn anything along the way other than that the customer doesn't want a single wheel, which we probably knew beforehand. So if we contrast that with the bottom row, again, we have a customer, they say they want a car. But in this scenario, we first start from what is the underlying need? Why do they say that they want a car? And maybe we find out that what they need is an efficient way to commute to work. So now, rather than slicing our thin slices based on parts of the car, we deliver increasingly complex slices of functionality that let the user achieve that same goal of commuting to work, starting with something as basic as a skateboard. It's not a complete solution by any means, but it allows us to actually give the user something that they can experiment with to try to solve their problem, and then give us feedback about how effective that was in solving their problem they have. So you'll notice at the end here that not only are we able to get some additional information and keep the customer happier throughout the process, we actually ended up with a convertible and not just a car. And in this scenario, while the bike and the motorcycle didn't fully solve the customer's need, the customer communicated that they discovered they like the wind in their hair. They like having that fresh air on their commute. So we were able to actually uncover information to deliver something more effective than what the customer thought they originally wanted. And you know, this kind of language, this kind of example is not unique to us. There are other players in the industry, other shops that are doing this. But as Rosemary mentioned at the beginning, what we bring that kind of wraps this whole approach up is our depth of experience. So we not only have the expertise and the creativity, but we're very fortunate to be able to benefit from the experience of our colleagues and teammates, both in ventures that they have founded, in experience working in early stage ventures, and in all of our journeys with working with customers and ventures at Thin Air to help them achieve their goals.
Absolutely. I bet you there's people on the call going, okay, well, that all sounds really cool, but like, what are these people really like to work with? Like, what are they going to be like when I get on a call with them? Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to actually connect with our team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're pretty nice people, but it's absolutely a great question. And I think above all, we really strive to be a genuine partner to our ventures. So think of us as an extension of your team. We're not arm's length contractors. We're there on the ground with you, invested in your success, and we win when you win. So what this means in practice is that we don't necessarily just say yes to everything. And we don't just build whatever is brought to us in that first initial discovery meeting. We're going to dig in and challenge things that might push back on the viability of certain ideas, that might change directions and put a new twist on things that perhaps the founders hadn't considered before working with us. And we do this to make sure that we are getting ahead of any risks and hurdles that could pose a threat to the viability of the venture long term, and really trying to bring all of that collective experience and working with ventures to each and every one of our engagements. We also work very, very iteratively. So we have our design, our ideation phase, but that does not mean that we map everything out in those first few weeks and then just follow a plan through until the end of the engagement. We're constantly making sure that we're still on target, researching, gathering new information. We try to be very realistic about the market space that we're working in. So that means that we do extensive research into similar offerings in the market, existing solutions, tools and technologies that could either complement or pose a risk to the solutions being proposed. And we're always collecting and gathering that information to make sure that we're making the best real-time decisions in terms of the directions that we're working towards. And I think at the end of the day, we recognize that starting up a new venture is incredibly complex and there's no one single roadmap. So our objective at all times is to create that clarity out of the complexity and make sure that we're really staying focused on the most important objectives so that our ventures can have their best success.
Wonderful. You just make that sound so snappy and great and effective. Thanks so much, Katie.
Thanks, Leah.
So we have a few minutes left for questions here. So we've got a few already in the chat, but just before we get to those, Rosemary, if I can bring you back in just to talk a little bit about maybe how we can be quite different depending on what a venture needs. In some cases we're an extension of the team and sometimes we are the team. So maybe you can just give us a couple of quick examples in the next couple of minutes, Rosemary.
Yeah, sure. Let me see. When we work with an existing team, we love to just be able to do some prototypes to de-risk some things. And I think I talked about that earlier. What that means is, say you need to add some new features and ventures are looking to build something very quickly. So they want to pull something off the shelf, not sure if this will integrate nicely into what they have existing or, how much it will cost, et cetera. Just all these questions, all these variables that come into play to add that new feature, that can be very distracting for the core product that a team is building. So, when we come in, we can work on some of those non-critical path features for the team. And we can, give some thought, show some options. As Katie mentioned, we'll do a demo so you can really get a sense of what it's like to have this work with your existing code base, with your existing product. And we can do that kind of stuff for you. And, when we come in, we have an outcome in mind of what we want to do. When we achieve that outcome, then we can be just ready for the next time we want to work together. So for ventures where the cost of working with a full-fledged team and where the demands will grow and shrink, we're a good option for that kind of stuff. So that's what it's like when we are the augmentation of your team. When we are your team to start, you might be in a situation where, great idea, wanting to get some artifacts in place to tell your story, to unlock more funding, but until it's a chicken and the egg problem, you might not have the funding yet to unlock the capital to get your team hired. So again, and of course, in times like this, you want to be able to grow the right team. Your first few people you add in, you want to have quality people, and you don't want to be able to scare away people as you have the growing and shrinking potential of what you need. So we can be that team, get things off the ground for you. And again, when we're done executing those outcomes for you, we'll be ready for the next thing. We can continue at that point. Maybe we build your MVP to start, really understand your business domain, really understand your vision, and not just the small slice that we build, but everything that you want to do and how you want it to change the world. We can work with you, build that first thing, get some funding, do some experiments, get some really good data. And when you build your team, have us come in again and work with you again to make it more and more in line with that vision that you have. So we really value working with ventures who are new to us as well as return customers. And this, I think, really speaks to how we are ecosystem partners. All the things we do all build towards making a better world for the future.
Sure does. To that point, I have to call out what Laurel said here in the chat, that isn't it so refreshing to see so many female developers? And yes, it's amazing. We do value diversity and inclusion on our team. So we are very excited to have a couple of female developers talking to you today. So yes, but Laurel also had another great question is it too early to talk a little bit about pricing and what that looks like and how we work? Can we address that one, Rosemary?
Sure, and this will be way better to answer while Katie is captivating to listen to. I can answer this without mumbling over my words again. So, the answer that people don't want to hear is it depends, but it really does in this case. We might have some conversations and decide that maybe building the MVP might be not the right thing at the right time. So thinking about how the product traction team works within the larger Thin Air Labs team, we don't want to have a conversation and say MVP is not right for you, or this is how much it's going to cost, and we just get this engagement going irresponsibly. We are focused on doing what's right for the ventures. So by talking to us, we understand more of where you are, what the right stage is, and based on these parameters and variables, come up with a engagement plan that works best and with the right price, given what we have. It might be, as I was alluding to, not the right time for this. We can talk about other services, and really, it's kind of like, say we go to the gym and I want to learn jujitsu, but I haven't even learned how to do some basics. Not to say that ventures are like this, but people don't know what they don't know. Talking to someone and really understanding, in order to do jujitsu, you have to at least be able to run 2 minutes without passing out. Okay, then I can go and learn and train how to do that first, and then come and learn how to do jujitsu.
Absolutely. I love that analogy. Thanks, Rosemary. That's great. Katie, did you have anything to add there about how we can sort of work and we're really flexible depending on what that venture need and what the growth is?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to jump in on Rosemary's excellent gym analogy. The nice thing is that with Thin Air, you're getting the jujitsu trainer and also the cardio trainer and the equipment and the nutrition team and the steam room. As much as we strive to be cross-functional within product traction, we also strive to be cross-functional across the different components of Thin Air and the different services that we offer to ventures. So just to elaborate on Rosemary's point, if we have some initial conversations, decide that MVP is not right at this time, it's not like you have to pick up and go to a completely different shop, a different set of people. Okay, now I have to tell my whole story again, get a bunch of new people up to speed. We're also very cross-functional between product traction, funding catalyst, the other elements of the business. And we all work closely together throughout the lifetime of an engagement with a venture to make sure that at the right time, the right people can be brought in to assist in those critical areas at the right moment. So once you can run your 2 minutes, the jujitsu trainer is already there. You've been seeing him around the gym and you're ready to go.
And you're ready to go. That's so great. Katie, thank you so much. That actually brings us to our time. So I'm just going to wrap it up quickly. If you have any questions that were not answered here, please reach out to us. We can bring up that slide, Charlotte, so you can see our email addresses. Feel free to reach out to us. We're super happy to connect with you. You can also visit our website, thinnerlabs.ca. And again, this webinar will be published on our YouTube channel in the coming days if you'd like to review it. There's, again, lots of other really cool videos there that we encourage you to check out. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here. It's just so wonderful to connect with our community as always. And we really do look forward to building what's next with you. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.